Hey everyone, it's your boy the Stutter Guy. I'm back with another video. And in this video, I'm debunking the lies fed to you by the right and those who couldn't even do the basic research. So already, you undoubtedly seen the comments saying that BLM is a terrorist organization, BLM did this, BLM that, and that BLM basically destroyed most of the cities. And if it's not BLM, it's the left. And I'm gonna tell you right now, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. It is, and the only way they keep pushing that agenda is because they want to make it out like they're the good guys, like they're the reasonable people, right? Like they can't do nothing wrong, right? And I'm doing this so y'all can be more aware of the truth. And the truth is, they're talking out of their own ass. Every single one of them. And it's fucking ridiculous. And this right here is going to prove to you what I mean by that. And before I start reading, I just want y'all to know I might mess up here and there, but the article of this will be linked below. So feel free to check that out yourself if you're not interested in hearing me read it. But with that said, let's get started. President Donald Trump portrays the hundreds of people arrested nationwide in protests against racial injustice as violent urban left-wing radicals. But an Associated Press review of thousands of pages of court documents tells a different story. Very few of those charged appear to be affiliated with highly organized extremist groups, and many are young suburban adults from the very neighborhoods Trump vowed to protect from the violence in his re-election push to win support from the suburbs. Attorney General William Barr has urged his prosecutors to bring federal charges on protesters who causes violence and has suggested that really used sedition charges could apply. And the Department of Justice has pushed for detention even as prisons across the U.S. were releasing high-risk inmates because of COVID-19. And prosecutors have been told to consider the risk of incarceration during a pandemic when seeking detention. Defense attorneys and civil rights activists are questioning why the Department of Justice has been taking on cases to begin with. They say most belong in state court, where defendants typically get much lighter sentences, and they argue federal authorities appear to be cracking down on protesters in an effort to sustain demonstrations. It is highly unusual and without precedent in recent American history, said Ron Kuby, a longtime attorney who isn't involved in the case but has represented scores of clients over the years in protest-related incidences. Almost all of the conduct that has been being charged is conduct that, when it occurs, is prosecuted at a state and local level. In one case, in Utah, where a police car was burned, federal prosecutors had to defend why they were bringing arson charges in federal court. They said it was appropriate because the patrol car was used in interstate commerce. I don't know how that's spelled. No, I can't pronounce it. Okay. Not to say there has been violence. Other police cars have been set on fire. Officers have been injured and blinded. Yeah! Windows have been smashed, stores looted, businesses destroyed. Of more than 300 arrested, there are about 286 defendants. Others had charges dropped. Some live in cities like Portland and Seattle, where local prosecutors declined to bring some protest-related charges. Some of those facing charges undoubtedly share far-right and anti-government views. Far-right protesters also have been arrested and charged. Some defendants have been driven to protest from out of state. Some have criminal records and were illegally carrying weapons. Others are accused of using the protests as an opportunity to steal or create havoc. Okay. but many have had no previous run-in with the law and no apparent ties to Antifa, the umbrella term of leftist militant groups that Trump has said he wants to declare a terrorist organization. Huh. Even though most of the demonstrations have been peaceful, Trump has made a law and order a major part of his re-election campaign, casting the protests as lawless and violent in mostly Democratic cities. He says has been done nothing to stem the mayhem if the cities refuse to properly clamp down. He says the federal government has to step in. I know about Antifa. I know about the radical left. I know how violent they are and how vicious they are. I know how they are burning down cities run by Democrats, Trump said at an embassy down hall. In dozens of cases, the government has pushed to keep protesters behind bars while they await their trial amid the COVID-19 pandemic, which has been killed more than 220 million people across the U.S. There has been more than 16 million positive cases in the federal prison system, according to a tracker compiled by the AP and the Marshall Project. In some cases, prosecutors have gone so far as appealing judges' orders to release defendants. Pre-trial detention generally is reserved only for people who are clearly dangerous to the community or at risk of fleeing. In Texas, Magistrate Judge Andrew Austin repeatedly challenged the prosecutor to explain why Cyril, I don't know how to spell that, who 40 say was caught on camera making a Molotov cocktail sit behind bars, which he awaits his trial of Cedar Park, describes his actions the night as a flash of stupidity. Prosecutors said federal authorities have arrested more than 300 people amid a crackdown on racial injustice protesters in the U.S. since spring. An AP analyst shows that while many are accused of violent crimes, others are charged with relatively minor violations. Here it is. Alright. The 25-year-old lives with his parents in the Austin suburb and has never been in trouble with the law before and wasn't a member of a violent group. The judge said there are a lot of people who do something stupid that's dangerous that we don't even consider detaining. I'm frustrated because I don't think this is a hard case, the judge said. I have defendants in here with significant criminal histories that the government agreed to release. We have no evidence of him, at least that has been given to me, being a radical or a member of a group that advocates violence towards police or others. We got no criminal history. What evidence is there that he's a danger to society? The judge asked. The judge allowed, I can't pronounce his name, to stay out of jail. Full coverage of racial injustice. While some of the defendants clearly hold radical or anti-government beliefs, prosecutors have been provided little evidence of any affiliation they have with organized extremist groups. In one arrest in Erie, Pennsylvania, community members raised more than $2,500 to help with bail for a 29-year-old black man who was arrested after they said white people had come out out of town and spray painted a parking lot. In the thousands of pages of court documents, the only apparent mention of Antifa is in a Boston case in which authorities said an FBI gang task force member was investigated, suspected Antifa activity associated with the protests. When a man fired at him and other officers, authorities have not claimed that the man accused of firing the shots is a member of Antifa. Others have social media leftist ties. A Seattle man who who expressed anarchist beliefs on social media, is accused of sending a message through a Portland citizen communication portal, threatening to blow up a police precinct. My man. Several of the defendants are not from the Democratic-led cities that Trump has likened to a war zone, but from the suburbs. The Republican president has claimed to have saved of the 93 people arrested on federal criminal charges in Portland. 18 defendants are from out of state, the Justice Department said. This has contributed to a blame game that has been subplot through the protests. Leaders in Minneapolis and Detroit have decreed people from out of state and stubborn ties for coming into their cities and causing havoc. Trump, in turn, has blamed the cities for not doing their part. They'll come down to Detroit and tear the city up, and then go back home. By putting another knee on the neck of a black folk because we got to live here. The Ray Wendell, attorney of the NAACP, said in May. Alright. That was just my mom. Alright. Sorry about that. Alright. More than 40 of those facing federal charges are white. At least a third are black. And about 6% are Hispanic. More than 2/3 are underage 30 and most are... Okay. And about 2/3 are under the age of 30. And most are men. More than a quarter have been charged with arson, which, if convicted, means a 5-year minimum prison sentence. More than a dozen are accused of civil disorder, and others are charged with burglary and failing to comply with a federal order. They were arrested in cities across the U.S., from Portland, Oregon to Minneapolis, Boston, and New York. Attorneys for those facing federal charges either declined to comment or didn't respond to messages from the AP. Brian Bartels, a 20-year-old stubborn Pittsburgh man who was described by prosecutors as a self-identified left-wing anarchist, was thanked by his parents when he turned himself into authorities. Bartel, who lives at his parents' house, spray painted on an A on a police cruiser before jumping on top of it and smashing its windshields during a protest in the city. Prosecutors said he pled guilty in September. Damn. That nigga wasn't left, he was right. That's kind of funny. Okay. One defendant who was arrested during a protest in the central Massachusetts city of Worcester told authorities he was with the anarchist group Vincent. He was with the anarchist group Vincent. I can't pronounce that. 18, who is accused of possessing several Markov cocktails. Told authorities that he had been waiting for an opportunity, according to court documents. But tucked into the protest-related cases are accusations of far-right extremists and racism as well. John Malcolm Barswell, angry that a local black church held a prayer vigil for George Floyd, called the church and threatened to burn it to the ground, using racial slurs in a phone call overheard by children. Prosecutors said Burwell, 63, of Virginia Beach, faces 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to making a phone threat. That's what a phone threat, bro. Like, that's what it is. Two Missouri militia members, who authorities say traveled to Kenosha, Wisconsin, to see Trump's visit in the wake of the police shooting of Jacob Blake, were arrested at a hotel in September with a cast of guns, according to court documents. An attorney for one of the men, Marcel Carmo, said he is charged criminally for conduct that many Americans would consider patriotic, as authorities have alleged his motive was to assist overwhelmed law enforcement. Three of the men arrested are far-right extremists, members of the Boogaloo movement plotting to overthrow the government, and have been stockpiling military-grade weapons and hunting around for the right public event to unleash violence for weeks before Floyd's death, according to court documents. After aborting a mission related to reopening businesses in Nevada as the coronavirus pandemic rages, they settled on a Floyd-related protest led by Black Lives Matter. Angry it had not turned violent, they brought a carload of explosive military-grade weapons to meet about 2 miles (3.2 kilometers) from the protest site and pumped gasoline into tanks. FBI agents arrested them before they could act, according to a criminal complaint. FBI Director Christopher Wray recently told a congressional panel that extremists driven by white supremacy or anti-government ideology has been responsible for most deadly attacks in the U.S. over the past few years. Thank you! You heard it, folks. White supremacists. It's always the white supremacists. Granted, the other side is not innocent, not always innocent either. But the majority of them were white supremacists. White supremacists. Thank you. Fuck. What does that tell you? It tells you that white supremacy is a terrorist organization. But they're always focused on BLM. Nigga, why? My God. Alright, let me get to back what I was talking about. He said that Antifa is more than an ideology or a movement. Thank you! Thank you! He said it himself. That Antifa is an ideology or a movement. It is a belief, not a group. Thank you.